Alright, hey, what's up, everybody? I'm gonna remake this Enigma video because since I made the last one, I kind of came to the realization that having the um, Kengruppen on the key sheet given to you over here, as was in the other video, is actually not going to work because if more than one message is sent during the day, it makes the conversion using the bigram tables irrelevant because you remember what key sheet was used. Okay, so I did actually take a different tack and went the route of the historical procedures, or very close to the historical procedures anyway. I drew up this Kenngruppenbuch, which is essentially a random selection of letters based on these numbers, which are columns, which are in German called Spalten. These columns or Spalten here correspond to different ciphers, and I'll go through how this is going to work. But you basically go in here and randomly select these random letter combinations here instead of doing it over here. But for sake of completeness, and given the fact that I'm going to delete the other video, I'll go through the whole process again in this video, showing it from A to Z. So anyway, so let's just we'll forget about all this for now, okay, and just take a step back and say, okay, we're gonna draft a radio message, and I'm also going to doing all of this research around the Navy procedures brought me back to this Enigma sim manual, which many of you, I don't know how many of you, I'm sure most of you are probably using this for purposes of Enigma. But anyway, the manual actually has a U-boat message in it, authentic wartime U-boat message sent uh, from a skipper by the name of Lokes. This name looks like looks, but Lokes here. So he actually has sent a message, and he's used a particular format that does away with the preamble at the top, and everything. The message itself is all encrypted, even all the information as far as time and date, etc., is all encrypted. So I suggest we just do it the same way. This is probably the most accurate representation of a or example, really the only example I've actually seen of a real life U-boat radio message that was sent in the format of it. So uh, this actually has some errors in it. So I went to the Enigma for the German site, has the plain text as it actually looked, and so you can see from Lokes, FT is Funktelegramm, which is radio message. This is the time and then the date. This was sent on November 19th at 11:32 a.m. Okay, so the way he had it laid out was you can see from J, and then name, and then J, and then HFF. This is not, shouldn't be an H, it's actually an F. This is what I'm saying. This is the errors were actually came about through the interception of it, actually. But at any rate, you can see here FFF, TTT, and then the 1132, and then a YY as a slash 1 9, which would have been the 19th of the month. Okay, so the way this will look for us is actually like this. So I just used the skipper Merton as an example. This is what I'd like to see us use for Enigma. So from J, the J's were put around for stress purposes to it's like putting a bold. It's like putting the name in bold, essentially. It's to if a surname is going in here, you would put the J's around it to emphasize it. And so from Merton, F T, the three F's and the three T's are to make absolutely sure that these are. I know, like some of you, like I know Keitzer does this with the grid squares, where he'll type like A and the reason why is because so as to avoid any confusion with any other words. We know that this is an FT Funktelegramm radio message. Okay, so FT, and then here's, I said 0400 on the 1st of February. Okay, so 0 400, and then we'll use the YY as a slash, and then 1. Okay. Contents XX, right? Forced under during attack, comma, Babos, water depth charges, peer break, surfaced, comma, am pursuing convoy. And I used an I here just so we can avoid the conflict with the Y as a comma. Okay, so I think wherever a Y shows up, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to just replace it with an I. We know what it means. So that's the message, okay, and that's in the format that I suggest we use. There's no preamble where it says, BDU and then numbers, etc. It's just going to be message, all right, and it's going to be from your name and the fact radio message, and then it's the time spelled out slash, and then the day of the month, the first one, okay. All right, so then we've got that done. All right, so now how do we go about selecting our Kengruppen? Well, first step we do is we go to the Kenngruppenbuch, go to the first page, or the second page rather. So you've got a few different things here, right? The Gebrauchsanweisung, that's the instructions for use. That's what Bergwerkswerk is putting together right now. The instructions, but here is where this starts right now. Zuteilungsliste, which is the allotment list that's part A. That's this. I recreated this in Word. Each of these is a different cipher. So this is early war. This is indeed what the one was issued before the war, but it was in effect when the war started. This is from May, but I don't believe they updated it in September or before September. But so you've got your Schlüsselkenngruppe column here, and then Verfahrenkenngruppe on the right. So the Schlüsselkenngruppe, again, being the cipher group, you select. This is saying, okay, if I'm in the home waters, which I will tell you what the home waters are and what remote waters are, etc. These are really the only two you're going to be using. The rest of these are all front boats, Füllfunk, so that's like filler messages. These are things that I will use. Schiffsunterschlüssel is for surface ships, special key. It's just one column, but anyway, so let's just take as an example, and I selected a number already, just 546. You go in there and say, okay, I'm in the home waters. My boat is in the home waters. I want to send a radio message. I could use any of these ranges of columns. So I just said 526 is probably a good enough one, or 546, excuse me, is a good enough one to use. So then I go down and I come down to the Spaltenliste here, right, and I find 546 here. 546, and I select at random. Just pick them. Pick any one. I picked any one of these. Now let me just remind myself which one I picked. I believe I picked LWM. LWM. I typed in LWM here. Okay, and then I selected as my random letter. You have to select a random letter for the beginning of this one. There's a reminder here at the bottom. Filler letter of the Schlüsselkenngruppe is the first place. Filler letter of the Verfahrenkenngruppe is the fourth place. That's a reminder to put your random filler letter up here to complete the four letter group. Okay. So then the next one is I need to pick my Verfahrenkenngruppe, the second one. So then I have some different rules here. So I can say Allgemein is common. That's for common use. This would be officers only. This would be staff only, BDU, and then these would be the heads of the Oberbefehlshaber of the Navy and the Army and the Luftwaffe, etc. Okay, so this is I may change this to make it just 1 through 676, just like this, just to keep it simple. But anyway, just for the sake of this, I believe I selected 300 when I set this up, so because I went in here and I said, okay, well, let's just say it's 300, 281, 460. So then I go down to 300, and I randomly select one from here, and I believe I selected HEY right there. HEY, I selected that one. Right, so then I've got that. So then I can say HEY, and then the filler letter goes in the fourth place. I randomly selected P to complete the four-letter group. Okay. So now I use the bigram tables to get my encoded Kengruppen. So Bergwerkswerk has been kind enough to put these together. Again, all of these are going to be issued to you very shortly. We've got this, but then in order to know which one to use, you need to use the plan. So the plan tells you on these are the months for the rest of the year, and the particular table to use based on the day of the month. So it's going to be February 1st. We're going to use the bigram table C. Okay, so you pull up the bigram tables, you find table C. Okay, and then as I demonstrated in the other video, to encrypt these ones, you read from top to bottom. That's why we line these groups up like this, top to bottom. So the first one is HH. I go into here, I find HH corresponds to ZY. So ZY, I put down here, I put ZY. Okay. Next one is LE. So then I go in here and I find LE, which corresponds to IW. So then I put IW, and I put a space. Now that's my encoded Schlüsselkenngruppe. Okay. So then the third one is WY there. So I find WY, which is SX down here, SX, and then the last one is MP. So then I go and I find MP, which is XM. Okay, XM. So now, under this method, under the Navy method, these are the Kengruppen, the encrypted Kengruppen. These go at the beginning and the ending, the beginning and the end of the message. It seems redundant, but it's there as a check. So these show up at the beginning, and then because they show up again at the ending, you know they are in fact the Kengruppen. Okay. So when we decrypt it, we won't decrypt the first two and the last two because they'll be the Kengruppen. Okay. So so now we've got that set up. So the next step is to find, and this will also be given to you. We know we are in the home waters. Okay. We use something for home waters. So we need we'll pull up the key sheet for the home waters, right, for February 2020. Now, you'll notice this looks different because now we just have the Grundstellung here because we don't have the others. Those are what we just looked up on the table. But the first step, as I say, okay, it's the first. I set my machine up just like I did before. I have already done this. I've got my the Walzenlage is such that my rotors are in position here. I've got all the rings set appropriately. I've got my plug board set up correctly. So then the only thing I need to do is set the Grundstellung, set the external settings to MQO, which is the starting position, MQO. Okay, and then I need to type in the Verfahrenkenngruppe, the original one that I pulled from the book, not the encrypted one, the original one I pulled. So the original one was this, HEY. I type in HEY, I get EYA, and I set my rotors to EYA, like so. And then I can go ahead and encrypt this message. Right. Okay. And then we go boom. Alright, so we're doing that. Get that. Ooh. Hold on here. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so then I plunk that in after, and then I take this and I put it again at the end, like I said. Okay. Alright, so that's our encrypted message there. Alright, so it's sent. Alright, it was picked up by the recipient, and the recipient says, okay, you know, Herr Kaloin, we got a radio message in. The very first step is to take the Kengruppen that you recognize as being identical at the first and the last, so you know that those are indeed the Kengruppen. So you would come down here and say, all right, I need to use the bigram tables to get the actual Kengruppen from the book, okay, as they were before they were encrypted. Okay, so so the way you do this is you type them out like this. I take the first two ZY, I take the next two IW and do an under them like that. I take the next two SX, next two XM. All right, and I lay them out like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these in the bigram tables to get the equivalents. So I'll come in, and again, I know I would have on the receiving end, I would have said, okay, done this exercise. 1st of February, I need to use C. So we go in and we use C. So then the first is ZY. I find ZY. ZY is HH. HH. We go to IW. What's IW? IW is LE. And then I need SX. Find SX, which is WY. And then I find XM. XM is MP. Okay. So now to get the actual keys, I read from top to bottom here. So in this gives me H, L, W, M. Now these are looking familiar. Here they are. See? That we know is the Schlüsselkenngruppe. The second one, H, E, Y, P, reading from top to bottom. There you go. Verfahrenkenngruppe. I now know that this is what I need to key in after I key the basic setting in. But first, I don't know that this is home waters yet, so I need to figure that out. I get this message in, and it's like, okay, well, what are my key settings? What key sheet do I use? I've got 4 or 5, eventually maybe 6, 7, 8 different ciphers. I need to know which one it is, right? So that's where this comes into play. I take a look at the Schlüsselkenngruppe, the first one here. I know that the first letter is a dummy letter. It was added by the sender. So I know what I'm looking for is LWM. Okay, LWM. So there's another part in the Kenngruppenbuch that has the letters. It goes the other way. It has the letters, and then it'll find the Spalte that corresponds to that letter. So in this case, I know they used LWM, so I'll find L, W, which is here, M. LWM corresponds to 546, so then I go to part B, which is the last page, which is essentially the key, and I find 546. Aha, this message is designed for somebody in home waters, right? So that's probably me. So I would continue with decrypting the message. Now, if it comes to pass that it's 676 and you say, this is for a surface ship, I'm not even going to bother with it. Or you could still do it, but it's not absolutely necessary. Okay, so I know that one is home waters 546. Right? That's what this second table is for. Table B, or part B of this is this laid out the opposite way, where you've got the columns, the Spalten here, and then you read across what the actual cipher is. Okay, so 546. Okay, so I say, all right, let's proceed with decrypting this. I know it's home waters, so I'm going to go dig up my home waters key sheet, set my machine up to the exact same settings, yada 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 there, and then MQO. I set my machine up to MQO, like so. MQO. And I go back and say, the Verfahrenkenngruppe that I derived was HEY. So then I know to enter HEY. So HEY gives me EYA. EYA gets set in here. And then I go ahead and decrypt the message, skipping the Kengruppen at the beginning and at the end. Just like this. Okay, so and then I start. There we go. And then I do my convert abbreviations, apply new format. There we go. And now you can see this is the message here. Okay, so you can see the slashes, and the colons are there, the commas are there. Using the I instead of the Y prevented us from getting a comma at the end. So there's our message. All right, so that is basically the procedure under as close to historical as we can possibly get it without going overboard with other methods that the Kriegsmarine also use that are beyond the scope of this campaign. Unless, of course, we all get bored with this, and then we can add more stuff, but that's not in the immediate future plans. So it was only a matter of time before we went on to the Navy procedures. They're a little more complicated, but they're not over the top. Everything is laid out here. You have this video for reference, and then you also have the document that Bergwerkzeug is putting together for that's going to go in the Kenkundenbuch as the directions. And then I would ask that everybody get comfortable with this by February 15th. Tonight I will release a key sheet using the Wehrmacht as we are not the Wehrmacht, excuse me, the Heer and Luftwaffe procedures that we've been using so far. It'll be a transition, so giving people essentially, a little over 2 weeks to get comfortable with this method, and then so I will only generate a key sheet through February 15th. I will also tonight or possibly tomorrow release the February package of key sheets that will cover all of the ciphers here. So you'll have a key sheet for home waters, you'll have a key sheet for remote waters, you'll have a special ship one, and then you'll have an all front boats one. Okay. And a filler message one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it'll be 5 total that you'll have, and you'll have to go through the process of figuring out using parts A and part B, figuring out which one to use when you get a message in. Okay, so that's basically it. So please, as always, let me know if you have any questions with this. But otherwise, like I said, campaign kicks off. The new campaign format kicks off tomorrow. We'll transition to this method by February 15th, at least. That's the plan. So I will talk to you all soon.